Let's talk about Doc Rivers. Let's talk about Doc Rivers because I don't understand what it is about this guy. He seems to be a great dude. I liked him on TV. Every time he has an interview, he's pretty entertaining. He has some great stories and everything. I won't call him a bad coach, but he has to be the most overrated coach of all time, despite winning a championship ring. Because that ring was in 2008, and now it's 2024. That was 16 years ago. And this guy, despite failures after failures after failures after choke jobs, despite having the most talent out there or super talented team every time, he keeps on getting jobs off the bat. Why all the very competent coach or coach who should be just as good as him, if not better, can't even get an interview, a la Mark Jackson, for example. And out of all people, JJ Redick, who used to be under Doc Rivers with the Clippers, Lob City and all that, who's had his fair share of failures with Doc Rivers, but still, it seems like they kept a good relationship. Doc was even on the podcast with JJ Redick, I believe. And both worked at ESPN, all that. And JJ Redick has been known for being pro-athlete and to a degree pro-coach. This is the only criticism that people have for JJ Redick, but not today. He decided to go on First Take and to completely obliterate Doc Rivers, and I was very surprised by it. So what we're going to do, if we're going to play at first the last quote, terrible quote that Doc Rivers had, and then we can come back and play JJ's reaction to that quote, and after all that, we're going to give our take about Doc Rivers and JJ Redick. But before we do so, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Taking a job when you're about to go on the toughest road trip of the season is not the smartest decision. I even told them that, can we wait till All-Star break? You know, it would have been a lot nicer. In that way, it's been harder. I mean, the fact, I've been in Milwaukee 4 days. You know, I've had the job for 3 weeks. So it's been difficult. It's been probably more difficult than I thought.
No one's going to react to Doc's audio there. We've been 7 minutes since we showed that audio. Nobody's going to react to Doc's audio.
Do you want me to get it repeat for you?
You don't repeat it. We don't have to repeat it. I've seen the trend now. I've seen the trend for years.
What's the trend?
The trend is always making excuses. Get Doc. We get it. Taking over a team in the middle of the season is hard. It's hard. We get it. Just like getting traded in the middle of the season is hard for a player. We get it. But it's always an excuse. It's always throwing your team under the bus. They lose to Memphis. Oh, it's his players. Memphis was playing G League guys and two-way guys. And you look at his quotes over the weekend. Now he wants to take credit for the James Harden trade to the Clippers working out. He wants credit for that. There's never accountability with that guy. There's never accountability.
So there you have it. So as I said, I am 1,000% with JJ Redick. Doc Rivers has to be better. He just has to. I was very surprised to see JJ Redick that animated because he was down there jumping off his seat. If you watch the full clip, it's like a 2-minute clip on ESPN. You can catch it for yourself, right? He was pissed, but Doc Rivers has been tripping. Doc Rivers just has to be better. Like, it feels like the man is completely oblivious to what's going on around him. Like, read the room, bro. You just got the job on the Milwaukee Bucks of Adrian Griffin. That was his first year. He was the second seed, 30-13, before you joined. You were an advisor. The man got fired. You got the job right away. Although you were working for ESPN, you were on TV, and you said you wouldn't even want to coach. So that already looks very slimy. But we have no proof that you got the man fired to get the job. We can't prove that. But still, you were out there at the All-Star game. And since then, you and your squad are 3-7, and you over there calling players out. You over there talking about, the players, most of them were in Cabo. You over there blaming schedule, the NBA. You over there blaming the front office who gave you $40 million to coach the team after another choke lead in the playoffs for making you start at a tough time of the year. Like, stop it. Like, Doc Rivers, this man since 2008, a year in which he was clearly a great coach. He had an amazing team in which he had better win, but he was an amazing coach for them. It felt like he just caught lightning in the battle with KG, with Paul Pierce, Kendrick Perkins, Rajon Rondo, Ray Allen, and them boys, and that his way of coaching, of leading, really worked. Because you can tell by the respect that all those guys still have for Doc Rivers that there is no denying that he was a great coach for them. However, Personally, I expect a great coach, a great leader of men, a great manager to be able to adapt to different groups, different eras of basketball, and different personalities. And since then, he has just not been able to do so. It seems like everywhere he goes, he carries on the same style, the same basketball style, the same very bland ISO, post up, ISO again, the same defensive schemes, the same leadership style with all groups, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And he completely fails to adapt and adjust in the playoffs. It seems like all of his teams, every time they come up with a solid game plan in the playoffs, they get off to a lead, and then the opposing coach, whether it's a good coach, a great coach, or an okay coach, will do one tweak, and then Doc Rivers is just there with his hand on his hips, yelling at the refs for the rest of the series, and they choke leads. Like, I get the point that, at some point, the players are the one who have to go out there on the court, so they have to take responsibility for that. But Doc Rivers, if you are the common denominator in so many blown leads, matter of fact, the most blown leads in NBA history, it means that as a leader, you're not getting your guys ready. Despite the P's and Q's, you're not even able to bring that fire out of those guys to actually go out there and compete. And despite all that, you still have no accountability. And that's probably the worst part. Despite you not being able to change your basketball schemes whatsoever, you have to know one thing about this new era of players is that they are sensitive and they need to be pampered, or they need to be, you need to show them that you lead by example, that you take accountability first if you want these guys to respect you and to follow you. And you, 10 games in, 3 out of 7, completely blew out all the chemistry, all the momentum that are going on, and you're over there blaming everything. You're over there blaming the schedule after losing to a G League team of Memphis. Like, I challenge any of you guys to name the starting five for the Grizzlies who was able to beat the Bucks with everyone. I challenge you guys to do that. I can't, and I watch basketball. I can't. You over there talk about, the players, they didn't know the plays. Isn't that your job as a basketball coach to have your team prepared? And we're not talking about a young team. If it was, for example, Ime Udoka who went to Houston and said some stuff like this, I would be, okay, these guys are young. They never showed any professionalism before, so maybe, why not, right? But Doc Rivers, you are leading a veteran team. Most of these guys were there to win championships. These guys know basketball. They know professionalism. If they were prepared the right way, they would know the plays. They would know the plays. But under you, they haven't been able to do so. Take accountability for that. If you look at a guy like Tyronn Lue, for example, I know it wasn't a brand new team for him, but when they traded for James Harden and they got off to the 0-8 start, if you checked out T. Lue's demeanor in the press conferences, he was always saying like, okay, first of all, we're going to be all right. He wasn't blaming anyone. He says, we got to be better. It starts with me. I will figure it out. I take accountability. It's my job as a coach to figure it out. And then look at the Clippers right now. They are the hottest team in the NBA. Doc Rivers, no accountability whatsoever. Always throwing people under the bus, players under the bus, the schedule under the bus, the NBA under the bus. It's never him. It's never him. Like, we remember that Ben Simmons situation in which he defended for the whole year, and then after he was trash in the playoffs, he really was trash. I'm not making no excuses for Ben Simmons. You go out there to ask you if you can win a championship with your guy that's your starting point guard, and what you got to say is, oh, yeah, man, actually, I don't know. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I've seen so many interviews on podcasts about all these excuses about the blown leads with the Clippers rather than just saying, yeah, I was good enough to get up 3-1 and I couldn't close the deal. Never heard that from them. What about last year? Last year, you had the MVP. You were up 3-2 against the Celtics. You had one game at home, couldn't close that, and you got blown out in Game 7. No accountability whatsoever. Even Kawhi, PG, all these guys were saying all that stuff about Kawhi Leonard being so tough mentally, being a robot, no feeling and all that. You were good enough to go up 3-1 on the Denver Nuggets. You choked that. No accountability for that either. Oh, it's like, the bubble. We didn't want to be here. At some point, this Doc Rivers stuff got to stop. And I'm glad that someone actually called Doc Rivers out on TV, because it feels to me that all these guys who are up there on First Take, since they all love Doc Rivers, they won't say the real. Stephen A. Smith, he kind of went with J.J. Redick, but it's only because J.J. Redick provided that energy. Because every time Stephen A. Smith has to bring up Doc Rivers, always love. We get that the guy is a good guy, but come on, at some point you got to bring that real. You got to do that. So shout out to JJ Redick for doing so, especially being his former coach. That really holds a lot of weight. And I don't wish bad on anyone, but at some point I feel like it's way more coaches who deserve a shot before Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers showed us he had all the teams, all the talent, and he showed us what he could do. He got a championship. Now you got to leave the spot for some other coaches, man. Still feel bad for Adrian Griffin. First season, 30-13, they got him up out of here like he was in the plane or something. So yeah. Anyways, these are my thoughts. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. But more importantly, get in the comment section and give me your thoughts. Do you agree with JJ Redick? Do you think Doc Rivers is legit? And I'll see you guys later. Oh, before I go, I just saw Pat Bev. He chimed in on the situation on his podcast, and he said, pretty much, I'm quoting him. I don't have the quote, but yeah, bear with me. He said that Doc Rivers said JJ Redick, and that he started him when his career was almost over, and that he was whack for going on TV after retiring and saying that about Doc Rivers. Pat Bev, I know that you're gonna write for your teammates, your staff, all that. I kind of respect it, but you might as well let it go, man. They're gonna trade you too. They're gonna trade you too. Doc Rivers, I know he was good to JJ Redick for starting him, but he didn't save anything. This is the NBA, the new NBA. JJ Redick was always a shooter. He was gonna be fine. If it wasn't on the Clippers, somebody else would have given the guy a job. Ain't no career was saved over there. So yeah, stop it. It's been your boy, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.